This is Afroeconomics with J.B. Bryan. Afroeconomics is a strategic financial management program designed for the advancement of Black wealth in America and abroad.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
And thanks for joining us, folks. Hopefully Tuesday has been trending in your direction. Financial expert J.B. Bryan from Afroeconomics is right here. J.B. will explain why the fruits of this so-called robust economy that 45 is being touted hasn't trickled down to many in the community, the myth about the lowest black jobless rate in history that he also keeps talking about. JB, welcome back to WOL Radio.
It's good to be here. How are you, Carl? It's a great day.
We're doing good.
It's a great day.
We're doing good. We'll do much better after you tell us how to help save our money and make some money, because we like to have this conversation.
A key principle of Afroeconomics is entrepreneurship, the seventh principle, because in order to take full advantage of a thriving economy that we're not really experiencing, but if you were an entrepreneur, you would be able to feel comfort. I started my firm in 1995, and it has been quite a ride. And you're talking about 2007 when you started seeing it on the news that the economy was doing poorly. If you're an entrepreneur, of course, we felt that in 2004, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But now we are getting jobs again. But if you want to be completely satisfied with your career and the income that you're creating, and of course I'm biased about this, it's entrepreneurship is the key. Because if you look at the statistics, a lot of our people are underemployed. And in order to really be fully employed, I mean, I can't even say that there's no way that I would be the president of, it is possible, but I don't have that much confidence in that I would be the president or head of all of the stockbrokers at Merrill Lynch or all of the investment advisors of Dean Witter, or, I just don't feel that way. But because I started my own firm in 1995, I'm in a position to have other investment advisors, to build my own business, to take advantage of the opportunities to help people build wealth in a way that if I were working for someone, which I experienced when I was a broker working for a firm, that they had to ask for me specifically, that black girl, in order for me to get a referral. And the firm that I work for, the brothers after me, actually did a class action lawsuit that they just settled. Now, Carl, it took them 10 years of sacrificing their career in order to get to a class action lawsuit that settled at about $100,000 a piece. Now, this is a major firm that we're talking about. So they got to $100,000 a piece to the brothers that had been discriminated in the workplace, but they cannot get the money back that they lost or the clients that they would have had if they had been treated fairly. So I say that if you want to fight discrimination, if you want to overcome weaknesses in the industry that you have selected, and if you want to avoid underemployment, entrepreneurship to me is the only way to go. And prior to that, I think that sales, Carter G. Woodson talks about this in The Miseducation of the Negro. And he says that he was trying to introduce us to doing insurance sales. And that's when North Carolina Mutual was big. We're talking about the 1930s where nobody else wanted to insure black lives. So we had this company, and they would go to all of our HBCUs and try to recruit us to be salespeople and sell insurance to one another. Well, they couldn't drag young black people to do it. And even today, you have a movement away from. I mean, we have said that you go to college in order to get a job, but I went to college and graduate school to sell, to learn how to sell, to learn how to build a business. Even if you're a doctor, if your child does not know how to sell and market themselves, they are going to be underemployed. They're going to be a low performing doctor. If they're a lawyer, they're going to get kicked out of the law firm because they don't know how to bring business. You don't become a partner unless you know how to sell. So Afroeconomics is about us figuring out the algorithm of financial success. I call it the Afroeconomics algorithm, and that we have to put all of these things together.
That's some great advice that you just laid out. You know, and it goes for anybody, any occupation that you're in. You've got to sell. You got to be able to sell yourself.
Yes.
No, that's excellent advice.
Yes.
But I want to ask you this, though, JB, because the economy is sort of moving now. We have to say it's moving. Is it all Donald Trump, or because some people were saying it was the residual effects of what President Obama said? In as an economist, where do you say who gets the credit?
Well, we have to give credit where credit is due. This new tax plan has helped businesses feel more confident about hiring people. I feel that we don't need to really attach it to a name if it's going to stop us from taking full advantage of it. But I see too many of our people who are not taking full advantage of all of the opportunities that are there for us from the tax planning perspective. See, because we've bought into this hype that it only benefits corporations. No, it does not only benefit corporations. It's the majority of Black people take the standard deduction. Under this new tax law, the standard deduction has been doubled, not for just white people, for all people. So if we don't learn to take full advantage of what does that mean? You know, somebody told me last week that they were a business owner, and I was breaking down the tax laws, and they were like, look, that's why I hire a tax preparer, because I don't want to know about these tax laws. Well, we have to know about the tax laws. We have to understand, even if you hate the person in the White House, you can still and must. You are required to take full advantage of the programs that are available for you. Remember when Donald Trump, when he was running, and they were talking about how he had done the loss carry forwards on his tax return, and he looked at Hillary and he said, I mean, you've been in the government for 30 years. These are rules that you set up. I'm just taking advantage of the rules that you have set forward. How long is it going to take for us to know that it is okay for us to take full advantage of the rules that have been set forward? I'm in discussions, Carl, all the time with people with rental properties, and they don't write it off on their taxes, and they don't recognize it because they don't want to draw attention to themselves. Now, who in the world has terrified us so much? You know, we have to realize that we have to learn their rules. You know, Malcolm X referred to that we have to learn all of their rules. The Black Panther Party, that's what they were talking about. Learn the rules and follow the rules and maximize what has been set up to benefit the entire world, and it can benefit us as well. And that's why I talk about taxes a lot. I talk about how we should take advantage of a growing economy through learning more about stock investments. They're not for everyone, but in order to outpace inflation, stocks are historically have been a very good option for doing that. So if you look at the statistics and we're missing the boat on that, and we know that, okay, you say, well, they're only helping corporations. Well, how do you get to benefit from a system that is helping corporations? Own a little bit of corporations. You cannot participate in your work plan and not talk to someone about what's in these investment options that are at work. These are the things that I hear, and I really thank you for the opportunity to shut this down. I'm not going to get in the work retirement plan because I don't know what Trump is doing up in there. Well, then let's find out. We've got to be educated about that, Carl. We have to understand.
Well, let me jump in and ask you this thing, because you're talking about corporations. And a friend of mine, when I started in this business, he was incorporated. His mom was an accountant, so I never understood why he was incorporated. He paid his own taxes, and he says, one day you'll understand. And years, decades after, I think, oh, that's what David was doing. But would you advise somebody, instead of filing income tax regular, the 1040 thing, instead of to just form a corporation and let your job pay your corporation and then you pay the taxes? Is that a better deal, since
you don't have to
getting all these breaks?
You can get all of these breaks are also available to people who do a Schedule C and have a sole proprietorship. A key change is that now a business is a business. Prior to this, and a lot of us didn't know this, that you were paying if you put your business through your Schedule C, or even your LLC could go through your personal return. So if it went all the way down, it would be at your personal income tax rate. This is, and it is so many of us have followed the herd, set up LLCs, and have absolutely no idea how to properly take care of the taxation of an LLC. So if you're flowing it through now to your personal tax return on your Schedule C, it is now at the business tax rates, the way it should have always been. But we didn't know. But now that is something that is really helping us. If you have a Schedule C, then that's great. If you're doing a separate corporate tax return, that's great too. But there's no disadvantage to you doing the Schedule C versus having the corporate tax rate. And then, so it really cancels out that.
Hang on a second, JB. We got to take a short break here. I want you to break that down for the folks who are listening so they can take advantage of it. There's still time as we're closing out, heading to the end of the year.
That's
folks,
right.
You want to join us, you got a question about economics, reach out to us, 800-450-7876. Speak to JB Bryant from Afro Economics. We'll take your calls next on FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power.
The Carl Nelson Show is here daily, 4 to 7 p.m. on WOL, News Talk 1450 AM and 95.9 FM.
And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is economist. She runs a group called Afro Economics. JB Bryan, that's her name. The number to call to speak to her, 800-450-7876. Before we left for the traffic and weather update, I was asking her the question that since 45 has done all these, giving these tax breaks to corporations, would it be easier or better if instead of you being a 1080 or 1040, whatever it is that you're filing now as an individual or together as a couple, that you form a corporation, a C Corp, and take advantage of those tax breaks that Trump's giving out. So, JB, I'm going to let you finish your response.
Well, you have a good point, and I was just researching it during the break because I'm a tax planner. So it's all about planning. I'm not a tax preparer. So definitely talk to your tax preparer. Tell them that JB Bryan on Carl Nelson's show said, I need to make sure that I'm taking full advantage of these new corporate tax breaks. So the new corporate tax rate is 21%. And this change will live on past 2025. I'm reading it directly out of online. This is and I want to go down to the new rate is a flat tax rate. It means that it's the same for all C corporations. And then, as I was referring to, so you got a tax rate for everybody who's just a regular corporation. But a lot of times we haven't realized that an LLC is a pass-through. An S corporation is a pass-through corporation. So these pass-through businesses like a S corp, partnerships, sole proprietorships, those profits pass through to the business owners who pay ordinary income tax on their personal returns. If you're a pass-through, the good news is you may be able to deduct up to 20% of your qualified business income. That is to help them be able to get it to the regular business corporate rates that I was talking about. So, and it has certain qualifications like, is it a service business or is it a non-service business? And then it has taxable income of less than $315,000 are likely to qualify for the 20% deduction. So you have to get all of the details. But the biggest point there that you're making, Carl, is that it is good for us to legitimize our hustle. It is important for you to realize that this country that we live in wants us to build businesses because businesses employ people. And from an Afroeconomic perspective, our businesses hire people that look like us. People hire people that look like them. So if we can get more of us to build businesses and take advantage of this corporate movement, take full advantage of it. It's a good thing. But we have to raise our mentality to a boss mentality and realize that it may take generations for us to get the full impact of what steps you will take today in order to organize a succession plan for your business. If not, your hustle will never be legitimate on paper and have something to actually pass on to the next generation. Are you with me on that?
I got you on that. But hang on a sec, because we got some folks already want to talk to you, JB.
Okay.
800-450-7876. David is joining us. David's in New York, and JB's going to be in New York later this week, and she'll tell us about that. David, you're on with JB.
Hey.
Yeah, I got a question for her, and I'd just like to add something, then a question for her. We always been doing this. It's just haven't been on the scene. You know, I've experienced it. I'm 50-something, and so I experienced in the city where black people are doing just what you said, but it's not out there. Also, before my generation, my mother's generation in the 60s, she said the Harlem used to be rich. We used to have to, better than was we own that spot or something. I remember news about Atlanta, Georgia. I thought that would be something. This is my question to you.
Yes.
We do individual things sometimes, right? Mm-hmm. How can you take your idea and the ideas that we got on the radio and make it something that's concrete, like a Wakanda, where it's of our own, and that it's not about an individual, but a whole generation. Either city we take over something that we can say we got our own education system, our own economics, and the whole nine. What's your idea behind that? Thanks.
I think that you are continuing to try to do something that has not worked for us. I believe that the majority of us are not sold on the idea that there's power in our separation. So from a business perspective, I think that I encourage us to learn how to prosper in the world that we live in right now, meaning that we can provide services that everybody needs. That everybody needs, and at the same time, employ us, give us opportunities, build businesses. I believe that a strong black economy will create its own world, but I don't think that you can create a world and then create a strong black economy. Like when we lived in a world that would not allow us to go buy from anyone else, then we had our Wall Street and our own stores. But as soon as those gates were open, we ran out of the gates. Well, at the same time, we could do a reverse demand. If we create businesses that are so on point, imagine the mass amount of people that will come to get those things from us. So look at how many people in America go to other countries to get cell phones made, to get soccer balls made, to get these things made. So if I believe that it shouldn't be, we shouldn't never feel like we have to go away in order to prosper. I believe that we can prosper and that we can be united in the world that we live in. And we don't have to lose our identity because the world needs us to be more true to us in order for this world to be all that it can be. Because...
I got a question. The question to that, your point, I understand your point, is what's to stop them from taking over like they did with rap? like Percy Sutton. I remember him growing up, how he had New York, and then they basically took over that. They took over our culture. What's to stop them from us selling out once we get something good?
That exactly. That's a very good point. The last thing you said, my brother. Well, what's the point? How do we stop us from selling out when we get something good? That's something that we have to address. What if a major company walked up to me and they said, and it's, XYZ product, and they say, I want Afro economics because we need more black customers. And they come up to me. What is to stop me from doing that? Like, what is it? Because we feel like sometimes we get into, we're doing things, but it's not really a part of your fiber. Like Afro economics is a part as my fiber. It is my succession plan. It is my footprint on the planet. If we don't take our own businesses seriously, nobody else will. And then you have people who are buying our businesses from us that take our businesses, our inventions, our products more seriously than we do. That's not a them problem. That's a us problem. I got to figure out how to make sure that my seed has high self-esteem and realizes how important Afroeconomics is to me and how particular we have to be about who we do allow to get involved in our businesses and be committed to that. But there are like Wawa's. I was researching Wawa's the other day. Wawa's is privately owned. They are not publicly owned. They have not sold out from their family ownership. There are a lot of successful businesses who have stayed true to what their family wants that business to be. And always,
right, we got a bunch of folks.
That's right.
Who want to get to you. I hate to interrupt you.
Great.
But before I take another call for you, though, JB, you're going to be in New York. So we just had a call from New York City. Why don't you tell them where you're going to be?
Yes, and call 1-844-JB Bryan if you would like to get an online day pass to the Afroeconomics Business Summit. I'm having it in the office there, so the office itself is packed. But the classroom, but it's at 10 Times Square. That's where my office is located in New York, which is also 1441 Broadway at 41st and Broadway. And we're having the Afroeconomics Business Summit on Saturday. And I'm going all day talking about how to maximize your career and how to maximize your business. So go to afroeconomics.com or call my office right now. And if you want to come inside, give them a convincing story of why you're the best listener of the Carl Nelson Show, and you'll get a ticket in. These are members only, and it's a $500 day. But I can give you I want you to have a free day pass for online access.
All right. As I mentioned, we got people across the country wanting to talk to you. We're also coming up on a break. But let's go to Mike in Maryland on line 3. Mike, you're on with JB.
Hi, Carl, and hi. I'm glad to hear your guest here. I wanted to find out from your guest, Cole, is that how can we encourage our young people to start investing as well as start saving for their own retirement, because pensions are no longer here. But I've been trying to do it, but I just can't get them to understand that, to invest monies as well as to save for their own future, especially or after they stop working, though. I just bridge that gap.
All right, and that's an excellent question. I tell you what, we're going to take the break. I'll let JB respond on the other side, because for many of these young people, Social Security may not be there.
That's right.
Folks, what's your thoughts? 800-450-7876. You want to make some money? Speak to JB Bryan. We'll take your calls next, right here on FM 95.9 and AM 1450, WOL, where information is power. And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is J.B. Bryan from Afroeconomics. We're talking about money and making money. And we spoke to Mike in Maryland. He wanted his question was, how do we convince some of our young people to get started and take money serious? Being young, you always think you're going to live forever. And now to convince some of these young people to do it, and that's what we're trying to do. And also, J.B., there's some of our people in our community feel that if you make money or if you're a capitalist, that's you're sort of committing a sin against black folks. Help us out on those two fronts first. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for your question.
That's a very good point. I was thinking the other day, Mike and Carl, I said, why do we talk all the time about building another Black Wall Street at the same time? In the same breath, they'll say that capitalism is horrible. And that is the point of the Black Wall Street, was to build businesses. And then, so I think that we really need to realize that sometimes if we want to make a commitment to having full and employment of our people and building a Black economy that is strong, that we have to be committed to it's okay to build wealth. It's okay to build businesses, and don't be so self-defeated. I think that there's a lot of things going around saying that it doesn't matter because the system is designed against us and there's nothing that you can do in order to actually become a millionaire or to get rich or become as rich as Oprah, because these are statistical anomalies and things like that. That does not leave out that it is a fact that what I do leads to another generation being better off. The only way for us to change the position of Black wealth is for me to make sure that I pass something on. And most important, that I must pass on monetary intellect, in addition to all of the good things that we can pass on to them. But we have to pass on the intelligence of avoiding materialism and learning what real wealth is. So to Mike, I say that we can teach our young people that it's important to invest if we teach them what investing really, truly is. If we teach them about what a business is. And most importantly, teach them on the value of how to invest in themselves, how to build their own business. Because we look at the stock market like it's just, this lady told me the other day that, it's kind of like it's the biggest casino. I'm like, what are you talking about? The stock market is not a casino. You are exposed to risk, but it does not make it a casino. The stock market is for intelligent people to make sound decisions based on their time horizon, their risk tolerance, and definitely researching the historical performance of what they put their money in. It is not okay for us to think that you can go in there and just put your money in something because it's $5 or it's 5 cents and you can get 1,000 shares, and you don't have any idea what they do, how they make money, the history of the business, the managers of the business. You don't know anything about what they do. That's not okay. Why won't you just, if you would do something like that, it would be better to invest in paying off your credit card. So we have to understand how money works. That is the best, and that's the best way to teach young people about money, is for us old folk to learn about money. You want to teach a young person how to invest? You invest. I have never met a person that made investments that did not talk to their kids about investing. So if you, the key to leadership from my perspective is that leadership is truly by example. You can say whatever you want to say, but the word is true when it says that you can tell the tree by the fruit that it bears. Your child will be smart if you are smart financially. The statistics show that basically bad money habits can be inherited. We have to stop. I was looking at research the other day, and it said that minority women are of high percentage and highly likely to have a bad gambling habit. That when they looked at people who were having bad gambling habits, because I kept meeting people who were telling me, oh, I don't want to I don't want to do stocks. I'm not really aggressive. And then they'd say, but I'll talk to you when I get back from Maryland Live, or I got to go to the MGM. So I would say, wait a minute. Let's talk. Do you realize? And they have no idea, what they're doing. But when I said, let me research this, and it is real. So what they're doing, especially if you are the matriarch, a lot of our families are led by Black women, and you are the example, your children are learning that example. So we have to be conscious of what we're doing.
800-450-7876. Sean John's calling us from Atlanta. He's on line 5. Sean John, you're on with JB.
Hey, Carl. Hey, JB. How you doing?
Hey, brother. Good.
Hey, Carl. You have an excellent week. I had to call in again. I missed JB the last time. Right to it. Great. JB, looking at, opening your own business.
Yes.
Right now, my situation and some things have been good for me. I want to ask you a question. One, I was approved for my pension, and that's income that'll be coming in. And I have quite a bit of sums of money in the CDs.
Great.
One point I want to ask is nonprofit or profit, or like owning your business. How do I kind of twist? How did I just want to know what direction. Maybe you can give me some insight on it.
So you've retired recently and you're thinking about starting a business?
Right, a business,
okay.
Yeah.
I think the most amazing thing about nonprofits is that it's not really your company. Where a company is your company, a nonprofit has to have a board. So even if you're the one that started it, you could actually get kicked out, because you're just the executive director. It's supposed to be, the nonprofit is really just about the cause that you're creating. That's in its truest sense. That's why they're becoming more particular about getting your who can get your nonprofit designation and what you're doing and how you do these things. So I, of course, I'm in business, so I believe that business, but it depends on what you're doing. If you're about business, but if you have some service that you want to provide to the community, certainly, that, and of course, all of us in business feel that we're providing a service to the community. Lord knows, I hope I am. But do you want to provide a free service? Do you want to, feed the hungry, whatever. So it really depends on what it is, but there's no key. There's advantages and disadvantages to them both. And you see this movement now where almost everybody is starting a nonprofit. And I ask that everyone be careful and have a serious understanding of who's on your board and your relationship with your board, and making sure that your money is not just going to pay for you, that the money is actually going to the cause, and that you're following the guidelines to the T.
Right. And one of the points I know, mentioning that, you said, what about profit? I guess that will fall under business, the business part of it. But one of the things I did, I started a small in the educational system of programs. Of course,
Great.
they didn't see me coming. They kind of wrote me out, and it was for some other things. I'm not going to get into that. But of course, now I'm finishing up graduate school, my master's, complete my doctorate as we speak now.
Okay.
But now I'm ready to come back, and like I told the people around me, they thought I was going, but I'm coming back to really create this dynasty that I started. I heard you were saying some points there that we have to be aggressive what we're trying to do.
We have to.
My thing is to focusing on, my business, making it work, and all the things you talked about.
That's right.
Trying to connect the dots and put them in. What's your thoughts?
If it is anything connected to education, have you heard that lawsuit that they're doing in Detroit? I
heard a little bit.
Oh my goodness, that's so interesting. But it's I would argue, especially now that you're getting your PhD, to do more research on that, because the students are suing the school system for discrimination, and the superintendent he was on camera saying that he believed that the children of Detroit had been discriminated against. I don't know all of the details, but I don't think that's the only school system. So, and then I thought about, of course, how this has impacted. There was a brother on there was saying that now he's in college and he can hardly read. And he's like, he feels disadvantaged. He feels like he's always catching up. So imagine how much that impacts our pocket. That it impacts his ability to make a living. And then, so that is impacting, that is the key. The economic connection between our education and our wealth, is directed. But there's a point when you look at the research where our wealth and our education kind of divide. Like, it doesn't matter how many more degrees that we get, our income is not going up that much exponentially. So we have to be conscious of making sure that all of the information, the knowledge that we're gaining, that we figure out how to.
Hang on a second, JB. Stay with us as well, Sean John. We got to take a short break here. Check the traffic one more time in the DMV. Folks, you too can join the discussion with JB Bryan. We're talking about money, economics. Our number is 800-450-7876. Your calls are all coming next as the big show rolls on from FM 95.9 and AM 1450 WOL, where information is power. And thanks for staying with us, folks. Our guest is J.B. Bryan from Afro Economics. We're talking about money, trying to figure out how this, the so-called robust economy that we're supposed to be experiencing hasn't trickled down to many in our community. She's going to tell us how to do that, how we can improve our economic situations. Number to call to reach her is 800-450-7876. So let's go back to J.B. J.B., I'll let you finish your response to Sean John. And by the way, people want to know where you're located.
I'm located in Virginia, Richmond, Virginia, Washington, D.C., and New York. We have offices in all three locations. So just call 1-844-JB Bryan. But I just wanted to encourage the doctoral student to just decide which type of business entity he wants to have based on the service that he wants to bring forward. And then I kind of went into the discussion of that, since his interest is in education, that the connection between education and our wealth is, amazing. And at some point, we find that regardless of our education, we're not having our wealth grow as dramatically as our education has grown. So it really, I think it can come down to, for us, is what are we getting our education in? What fields are we getting, or are we investing in? And I don't want to say that I don't advocate education, but I definitely advocate training and getting the knowledge, but I advocate that we have to become fully equipped in how to create income from the training that we're getting. So I think that sometimes we're railroading our young people into a basic 4-year education when they could have been ready to just get training and go to work. You don't see on social media people bragging about their children becoming business owners right out of high school. But it truly happens. I saw my alma mater when I went back, and and it's a majority school, and that they have a huge emphasis on entrepreneurship, because we have to begin to realize that it's our responsibility, especially from an Afro-economic perspective, that we go and get the education, but we got to make the education pay for us. If not, it's a waste of money for many people. They are not making enough money to even pay their school loan back. That's highway robbery. It has not paid off for you. That's not the way it was designed for you to do. So you've got to connect between, if I make this investment, what is that payment going to be, and what is going to be the income approximately for the job that I'm going to have based on this, and is there a more cost-effective way for me to get that? So I feel that regardless. Now, I'm going to tell you that I told you I've started my firm in 1995. So you know that I have been through some very hard times, and I'm in financial services. So, and you're talking about a Black 100% Black-owned firm. Me, on my own, started it. Nobody ever gave me any money, no investors, nothing to this day. But I made a commitment to not have any debt. I went through that time where you're accumulating a lot of debt. And I think that debt makes us more miserable than we need to be. So I had to make a serious effort to become debt free. And you have to, if as a business owner, every dime that we spend has to be an investment, I believe. You can either be wasting that money on a luxury car so that you look good to your cousin when you pull up, or we can be investing that in hiring someone to help us provide better service, buying a new computer equipment. That we have to realize that it's not easy. I started my business with a master's degree and started the firm, and my first years of income were a fraction of what I could have made for somebody else. If I were working at an investment firm. But I put all of the money back into the business so that I can build a firm that now sustains me, and I'm still putting everything back into it. But so when you say, oh, the economy is going well for everybody else, but it's not doing well for me, we cannot accept that. We can't accept that. We have to accept the fact that, well, how do I take advantage of what's going on and make it work for me? We went out there, Carl, and we ran and bought every Nike shirt that they had on the rack. Every one. But how many of us actually have our own logo that you went out and you bought shirts of your own logo and went and put the same thing on your own shirt to prove a point that we're wasting our money? If you don't need it, don't buy it. We're all, every day, we represent that we don't want discrimination. We represent, every day, you represent that, your business, yourself. Why will we have to go out there, and spend something that you really don't need to spend? Now, I'm all about it.
That's some great advice. I got some tweets for you as well. And also, Pie Man, I think he hung out, the Pie Man, he calls himself in D.C. Please call back, because I know you have a great question, and I like the fact that if he's the Pie Man that was at our Power Talk, if he's the same brother, please call back, because I know he's out there. He's been doing his trade for quite some time. But here's a tweet question I have for you, JB. Sure. They want to find out your perspective on the best performing emerging markets investments. Should blacks be looking to invest in Africa? If so, which country would you recommend?
I have to be careful when I give advice because I'm actually licensed. I'm a registered investment advisor. So it's not as easy for me as if it were somebody who was just on the air that's not really regulated. I am regulated. They're listening to our discussion right now. So but I do encourage you to become a member of Afro Economics. Because I am registered, I can help you on your investment selections. And I do feel that there is a place for a well-diversified portfolio. There is a place for emerging markets. And it's become easier and easier for you to take advantage of emerging markets without incurring a lot of fees and expenses and not having to go over there and not know what you're investing in. But we can actually look at emerging markets investments, their historical performance, and see which one fits your specific investment goals. So I encourage all of you to get a financial advisor, talk with someone that you trust, find out about what's going on. But when we do this, I encourage you to never invest in anything that you don't understand. See, sometimes we do stuff that self-sabotages us. Not for the person who just sent that. They understand it. But somebody right now is listening to me. They're going to go out there and do emerging markets, and they're not even participating in the options that are available to them at work. So first, do what is available to you at work. First, learn what can help me keep more money in my pocket. What can I do to reduce my taxable income right now? And how can, if I do something in emerging markets, put it in, an IRA that will at least grow tax deferred and I can write off the contribution. So we got to be smart. We got to think everything through.
Well, let's get to the jobless rate, because 45 keeps touting that this is the best unemployment rate for blacks in history. Is he correct in saying that?
Yes, we are back to work, but we're underemployed. And we have to realize that we are not making, for most of there are many people who are still not making the same money. And that's people of every color are not making more than they were 10 years ago. And then we adjust incomes back to 40 years ago, and we adjusted for inflation, the cost of living adjustment. We're only making a fraction more adjusted for inflation. Our lifestyles, the buying power of our money is about the same as it was 40 years ago. So we have to all be very careful on how we spend money. I believe that for us in Afro economics, that we have to be very careful how we spend our money. We must. Right. We cannot afford to waste our money.
I think Sean John is still with us. I'm sorry, JB. Sean John, I thought you hung up. But do you have a follow-up question for JB?
Yeah, last one, Carl. I'm glad I was listening, JB. Thanks. JB, real quick, I know you said if I wanted to, how much money I would have to put down or have, like, to touch if I'm doing a building, renting, money. I know that's when it comes at the end of the day, even if it's going through a bank or whatever. But money, personally, myself, what would I need to be able to touch? It's okay, yeah, here's 5, is 10, 20, what amount would I need to have, or a guesstimation? What do you think?
If you were going to purchase a property, or just doing an investment or starting a business, which one were you doing?
Starting a business.
Starting a business. I argue that you should be smarter than me. I had no money, but I had clients, though. So, but so sometimes having the business and having the income or having the contract, you could go out there and get a grant or something for your educational idea, that it could end up, being everything. You don't need a loan. You don't need to have money. That the minimum and everything in life, you want to put the minimum in so that you can get the maximum return. The return on your investment is really based on how much you put in it. And that's why I would say that you make money on your house, not when you sell it, when you buy it. You make money on your business based on how much you had to put in to start it. No, so I can always say now, if I sold my business today, I'm, because I was able to build it with nothing but my grit, then my return on investment is huge. So you want to go in with the minimum down, but you have to realize that we have to have the maximum effort. And don't buy into this, that I need this loan and I need this, that, and that. If it is something that you need a loan for, they will give you a loan for it. So if you want to be a truck driver, they'll give you a loan to get a truck. If you want to be, but when you're talking about, I just want some money so that I can make payroll, that's not going to happen. I wouldn't loan it to you either. You got to make this work. If it means you got to work somewhere else while you're working your business, then that's what you're going to have to do. But anybody can start a business. But in order to build a sustainable business, it is not about what banker is your friend and how many loans they're going to give you and what the interest rate is. It's about you being willing to put it all on the line, work every night. I work basically 24/7. And I'm willing to do that because I believe in my dream and people believe in me and they're dependent on me. You got to have that attitude. I've been to hell and back through certain situations. Not one day did I say, I don't feel like this because my husband left me yesterday. I had to get to work. And until we get that attitude across the board, nothing changes.
We got to take another break here as we're closing on the top of the hours. Allow some of our stations to identify themselves. Stations like FM 95.9 and AM 1450. WOL, where information is power.
Welcome to the Carl Nelson Show on Washington, D.C.'s 1450 WOL Radio and live around the world on WOLDCnews.com.
Finish up with J.B. Bryant. JB's from Afro Economics. And J.B., I'm going to let you finish your thought that you started there with speaking with Sean John in the ATL.
Sean, we were talking about, thanks for the opportunity to finish up, Carl, is that we're talking about what do you want to put into your business and if you should have 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever. I think that in starting your business, like everything else that's very important to you, there's always going to be a lot of reasons why not to do it. And that's why I was just sharing with him all of the different things that I've been through with my almost 25 years of being in business, that there's always going to be something. And when you start it, you think that's the hard time. That's not the hard time. That's the good time. When you start your business, that's the best time ever. But the biggest thing that you can do before you start your business is to not have debt. I don't believe in the strategy that you need a loan to have debt. I mean, you need a loan to start your business. I believe that people make a lot of money off encouraging you to try to start your business the easy way. But if you need a loan to start your business, make sure it's because you need it for something that is needed in your business. It's strictly for equipment. But I don't believe in getting a loan in order to pay yourself or to pay your people. You're going to have to start it with the sweat equity, and you're going to have to make sure that you do what you got to do. Sacrifice what you got to sacrifice. Give up those weekends. I don't even believe in weekends. So in order to change, this is my opinion, of course, from an Afroeconomics perspective, to change the economy for us, we must take full responsibility for our careers. And I believe that having an entrepreneurship mindset is the key. You can either be an entrepreneur working for someone in sales and having a job that's connected to your performance and getting it in, or starting your own business and going at it. But either way, you have to have an entrepreneurship mindset because the majority of us are underemployed. I don't care who you work for. Most of us know that we are capable of so much more than what we're doing. And in order to live to your maximum capability, you have to take ownership of your future.
Let me ask you this, though, JB. What about people, the naysayers? Because, when you start your business, you're going to hear from people who say, hey, it's not going to work, it's not going to happen. They're going to give you all kinds of excuses, even people who you claim are your family. How do you handle that? And did you run into that?
Yeah, they're dream killers. And they might not say it directly, but they turn their back on you. They're not going to help you. And the worst customers that you can have anyway are family members, because you're not going to make money off your family. That's not what we're in business to do. So what you want to do is realize that they are doing it because they love you. In my entrepreneurship chapter of the book, I call them dream killers. And I said, we have to assume that they really feel that is the best advice for us. But we have to get our mindset so strong that you focus. Here I am, a girl. They gave me not a dime. My family was not worried about me. They were like, she made this decision, she's going to have to make it work. And I thank God my father passed away this year, March, and was able to see me making a successful business. So you can do it. And I'd much rather do it this way than to say my dad had to put money up and that's how I built it. No. I wasn't angry. I have utmost respect for him. I think that we weaken each other when we feel like they have to do it. I get those conversations all the time. I'm taking money out of this because my son needs this to start a business, or I'm doing this because I'm going to help my daughter do this. You can do that, but if you do it, explain to them how business works. If you invest in a business, then you are part owner of that business. Get shares of the company that the child is starting. Become a part owner. Don't just give them money. Do this stuff on paper. Teach them how to raise capital. Do their first private placement. And that private placement is with you. And they have to learn that now they have a partner. Now you own some of those 1,000 shares. 300 of them are yours. But learn about corporate structure and how, if you have investors and and they want to have partial ownership, how it works. It's not just a TV show. That's how it works. You want to raise money, you want to raise capital, and you want to do it without getting a loan, then you got to give up some ownership. So don't rob them of the opportunity to understand that's how you build a business. It's okay. Like Barry Gordy, I think he said he started the business with his family and everybody put in money and this and that. But I would love to speak to a family member and see, did they buy in shares? Because he wouldn't be the only multimillionaire in that family if they had bought in ownership of Motown. They probably loaned him money and he paid them back interest. So we got to understand, if you believe in them and they have a great business idea, really get in it. Really get in it. Become
let me
owner.
ask you this, Van. How young can we start telling our children, our young people, about business, about the economy? What age can they really process it?
Well, it needs to be heard. It just needs to be, you need to allow them into the environment. They don't need, just like they're sitting in the room watching BET, and they're watching the Kardashians. They don't need to hear that. They need to be in there with you. As you see the people at the dry cleaner, when they have the little kids sitting there, they're learning how business works. They're learning customer service. So if your kid is not getting a piece of it, then they're not learning. Like my daughter knows every step I take. She knows when she's been with me to the New York office. She goes with me to the DC office. She goes with me to the Virginia office. Your child, that's how you teach them. And it's never too late. She's been in my office from day one. We used to sleep on the office floor, So no, we can. It's never too. The earlier, the better. The earlier, the better. Just like the little kids pick up every other habit, they can pick up how to be nice to people, what a customer is, how to communication skills. But you must know that if you're a poor communicator, your child is going to pick that skill up from you. And so we try to keep them away from it because we're not on point. We need to be on point.
All right, JB, we got to run. But before we let you go, how can folks reach you?
1-844-JB-Bryan. That's 1-844-522-7926. Or go to afroeconomics.com and then do the chat now button. Or go to the jbbryan.com and just click chat now, and it will automatically send me an email, and we'll be in touch. If you would like the online access to the Afroeconomics Business Summit, please email me or do the chat now or call. Email is jb@afroeconomics.com. Carl, you have some fabulous, intelligent listeners. I mean, these people are amazing. Every time they call me, that it just amazes me. And it just lets me know that we are in a position to change the world. We can do, if I just took everybody that listened to you, we could change the American economy, not to just mention our economy. We would change the American economy overall. I know it because everybody that listens to you, they're just so smart and they want to know more and they want to grow. And I just thank God for what you're doing and keep doing it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, JB. Thank you for sharing that information with us as well.
Thank you.
Today's podcast was powered by JB Bryan Financial Group, a registered investment advisory firm and the home of Afroeconomics in Virginia, Maryland, Washington, D.C., and New York.